Hello everyone, my name is Fred Yamunga from Integrity Business Services. On behalf of eTraining, I'll be presenting this webinar called Liaise with Stakeholders. Here we go. The purpose of this presentation is to establish and maintain open communication processes with all stakeholders. Secondly, communicate information from line manager and management to the team. Thirdly, communicate unresolved issues, concerns, and problems raised by team members and follow up with line managers, management, and other relevant stakeholders. And lastly, to evaluate and take necessary corrective action regarding unresolved issues, concerns, and problems raised by internal and external stakeholders. Here we go. So, what are the reasons for planning communication? Reason number one, to develop project plans and inform stakeholders. We need to inform the stakeholders of what we are doing, how we're doing it, when we are doing it, and why we're doing it. Number two, we need to inform others of changes to organizational policy. There could be changes that have taken place, changes in procedures, and that needs to be communicated. Another reason for communication could be provide relevant resources or information, updated information. And that would be updating management on the team's progress. So you might be wanting to give an update, reports to management about how your team is going. And so, what are the reasons for planning communication? They include provide teams with performance feedback. Teams need to know how they're doing. They need feedback so that they can improve or they can be encouraged. And maybe you need to contract new business, negotiate with customers for new contracts, new suppliers. Maybe you need to get new partners on the business, and therefore you need to communicate uh, business information. You need to communicate what you want to them so that they can come on board. And it could be that your communication is about resolving conflicts that relate to systems or any workflow problems that you might have. So your communication workflow, it goes downward, it might be going diagonally, it could be going upward. So if you're on top of the peak, you could be talking to your subordinates, your employees, or could be talking cross-functional, it could be lateral, or could be talking out to your senior managers. So you need to understand where your communication flow is and how tactics you're going to use and what mode of communication is available to you. How do you communicate with the teams? As with all forms of communication, when communicating to your team from senior managers, you need to plan your communication with respect to what kind of medium to use, what kind of message you need to convey, and who is your audience. Understanding that enables you to choose your medium appropriately and to choose your language appropriately. And barriers to communication, what are they? Many, but let's start with lack of team cohesion and trust. If there's no trust within the team, that brings a huge barrier to communication. Team members have got to trust one another that whatever is said and whatever has been analyzed, whatever is brought to them has been well researched and well sourced and coming from a place of trust. There's got trust of leadership. If there's no trust in leadership, that means then the team will not adequately or appropriately understand what is taking place. Is it died? And so when you go to inertia, the inertia and fear of change, a lot of employees are afraid of change. Whenever there's communication that needs to be uh, sent through chosen medium, the employees will be thinking, how will this affect me? Do I still have a job? Is my job secure? Is my future secure? So those kind of fears that are inherent in employees, you need to be aware of those things. And in poor team communication processes, this leads to discouragement and lack of morale, and which impacts on your production levels. And because there's no trust. But if trust is there, hey, you got a team that trusts you, they can take your word for it, they're able to move forward much more effectively without any staggering or loss of momentum. So, meaningful meetings, what are they? These are meetings that provide regular updates. These are meetings that provide information on changes. These are meetings that you might call because you want to revise the plan, you want to revise the strategy, you have identified something that's not working. And these are meaningful meetings because they're focusing on priority, they are focusing on weekly targets, and they build relationships. These are meetings that provide feedback that is relevant, feedback that is effective, feedback that can be of immediate use. There's no point in providing feedback that your team can use now. So when you call for a meeting, make sure it's information they can use now, information that is relevant for them to enable them to do their work, to enable them to achieve the goals that has been set before them. So when you communicate change, as William Bridges in his book Managing Transition says, talks about change in terms of endings and new beginnings. So your change could be to end something or to begin something, end a process or begin a process. So with every change, something familiar comes to an end, and with every change, something new begins. So it's either opening a new chapter or closing one. So reactions to change can range. They range from fear or to excitement that something new is coming. We're going to get involved in an exciting project, or there could be fears like, oh, what we have enjoyed or what we knew, we're going to lose it, and something much more complex is coming. So those are always the things that are going on in the minds of the team whenever change is on the way. So tips here are some tips to support your team with change. Lead the way, walk the talk. Don't promise what you can do, and don't promise things that promise so far away that they are unreachable. Talk of things that are practical, that are achievable, and provide training for in areas that your team needs to change. Maybe if it's a new software, tell them that's going to be training for them to how to use the software. Keep them informed of the progress. Encourage creativity of how to resolve problems that come up. Be flexible. Listen to your team. Accept change and accept their ideas, listen to them and respect their fears, respect their notions that they bring to the table. And in as much as you have your own understanding of it, but accept where they're coming from, and then from there, chart a new way forward. So what are regular reports that are needed? Collect data and tell them what is your objective, what does a manager require. So use different types of data to tell different things. So for instance, if you're going to talk about the budget, the progress of the budget or expenditure, the data that you use, that's financial data, expenditure data to say, hey, we're out of budget. If you're talking about income, talk about your sales data. So use a relevant data in reporting your objective, so that the team can actually see that what you're telling them is relevant to the goal. So if you're talking about marketing goals, make sure you're talking about marketing information, marketing data, what your competitors are doing, comparative analysis. You're talking about your, the values, your share structures, and so forth. And what your competitors, how they're tracking in comparison to your own organization. That helps your marketing to see where they are in their positioning. So sometimes you can see different patterns of growth and decline. So analyze this data and interpret it effectively to your team. And the next thing you do is identify and escalate issues. There could be issues in any team, in any developmental structures. Once you identify that, brings to the attention of others. Find additional support. Find people that can influence change. Identify your stakeholders. Who are the stakeholders that need to get involved? Who are the stakeholders that need to know? Who are the stakeholders that will be impacted with whatever you have identified? Familiarize with the issue and develop a strategy so that when you go to your stakeholders, you're saying, we've identified issue A, and these are the risks, this is how it can impact, but the solution we've come up with is A, B, C, D. That way, you are taking a wholesome package to your stakeholder. You're not just throwing fear into them, say, this is what we've identified, but you have no solution. That is more detrimental than you just telling them what it is. So, and you need to build confidence in the team when you escalate issues to say, hey, we are capable of resolving it. We are capable of handling it because why? We've got the expertise. Evaluate and take corrective action. Corrective action means reviewing supplier performance, do regular audits, review your service level agreements with your contractors, implement quality assurance, increase your motivation amongst your employees, increase their performance levels, quality checks processes should be in place. Review the process, review their successes, check the KPIs, constant on your milestones. So having these performance standards set in place gives confidence to their employees that when they work hard, you have a monitoring system of identifying, where they are at, what help they need, or whatever motivational or rewards they require. Obviously, when employees work, what do they want? At the end of the day, they're working for rewards. And as we close this session, once again, we encourage you to do your activities. We encourage you to read your workbooks, go through the material, and share with us your concerns and where you are at. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch up with you in our next webinar. Thanks, Brian.